Well, folks, coming up on Saturday, the legend returns to Worden. One of the great stories out there. Wordi Gras has just grown and grown and grown, and the brainchild, one of the brainchilds, if I have it right, Walker Gusewelle joining me. And Walker, before we talk about Wordi Gras 2025, let's just talk about the whole origin story. This thing is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Sean. Back in 2007, it was five of us were planning originally to go down to St. Louis Mardi Gras, and woke up that morning and it snowed. It was cold. We just thought better of dealing with the cold and icy conditions of heading down to St. Louis. So a few of us ended up getting together, just kind of partying at our buddy's house, playing some cards, having fun. And our friends realized they had a bunch of beads that they were going to take down to St. Louis that they weren't going to be able to use. So had the idea that we should have our own parade since we couldn't join the big one in St. Louis. So we called both bars in the town. At that time it was the Yellow Dog and Idle Hour. And told them to send their patrons outside in about 5 minutes. There's going to be a parade coming through town. Well, the parade consisted of my truck and the people that we were partying with that day, about 5 people total. And we were blaring music and threw beads. We continued to celebrate over at the Idle Hour afterwards. And we had such a blast that first year. That we decided to do it the following year. And we wanted to increase the size of the event, so instead of 1 truck, we had 2. After that, the third year, as sort of a joke, we actually sent out a press release inviting other people to participate in the Wordi Gras parade. And lo and behold, we showed up thinking it was just going to be our trucks again. And we had about 15, 20 people actually show up to have a float in that parade. So after that, every year since then, it's just pretty much increased in size and increased in the creativity of the floats, and just been a great event for the Worden community.
That has to be special because I know there are some parades, I won't name names, that don't have a lot of entertainment value. Hey, a bunch of guys in a truck and waving and some people behind them walking. Sometimes the entertainment you lean on are the high school bands, and even homecoming parades. People have kind of lost that edge, as opposed to the days when it looked like a float out of the Rose Bowl parade. I imagine you take a ton of pride in that.
We do. It's awesome just to see the amount of, people that come out, the amount of effort that some people put into their floats, and the enjoyment of the little amount of effort that others put in their float. Because we don't have a sign up for the parade. We do not have any requirements other than obviously be safe and be respectful. So you may have somebody that worked hours and hours and hours on their float. You may have a group of people driving a Jeep or side-by-side. You may have a group of, a few years we've had the Coffin Carriers Club show up. So we've had about, 5 to 10 hearses driving in the parade. And then you'll have people just walking around. They just want to be in the float in their car, or in the parade in their car, so they just drive down the parade route in their car and wave at people and sometimes throw out candy.
Well, I know small towns, you look to the future and you try to preserve the future and say we're not just some, in some towns it's like you see the signs of going toward death's door, and some communities are doing a pretty good job of rallying around the community and saying, you know what, we're a good place to be, and hey, you might even want to move here. This seems to be a strong statement, and I know Worden's got great spirit for a a number of events on a number of fronts, but this seems to be not only a moment that shines for Worden and is a source of pride, but I can imagine inspires some other small towns out there.
Absolutely. It's definitely the biggest event in Worden. And as you meet people across the state, you tell them where you're from. If you tell them Worden, you'll be surprised. I've had people from up in Peoria, even in other states, say, "Oh, have you ever been to Wordi Gras?" I'm like, "Yes, I have. Know it pretty well." So it is very prideful to hear people that you wouldn't expect to know about a little small town in southern Illinois know the name.
Well, that had to be a real boost too, because I know those years after you lose your high school, that's a pretty tough pill. And when I know what we're talking about, 20 years between the end of the Worden High School era and the start of Wordi Gras, that had to be a big lift, I have to think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Looking at this event, when you talk about that origin story, do you have a hard time getting some people who are new to it to believe it? Because it just sounds, it just almost sounds too too amazing to be true. But I know that's the way these things start.
Yeah, people they'll look at it. If they're new to Wordi Gras, they'll be like, "There's no way that this started with just a few people in a truck and very little coordination." And the proof's in the pudding now. Obviously, while I'd love to say we, outside of posting a few memes or whatever they're called, and post on Facebook, putting a few flyers out back before Facebook and social media were a big thing. That's really all we've done to try to spread the word. And outside of that, it's just been people that have come, spread the word after they've enjoyed the event and the town, and that's just brought more and more people into town from that word of mouth.
I can imagine the food truck's kind of been a game changer. It's like a mobile infantry unit as far as putting on an event like this that has kind of picked up the slack. We don't have as many people doing the the food stand kind of thing that go to fair after fair. The food truck seems to have really picked up a slack and kind of added a little energy that maybe you didn't have for events like this.
Yeah, that has been a great addition. The Worden Police Department has been coordinating vendors for the last few years, and it's been hard. Originally, it was hard to get a meal during Wordi Gras because you'd have to cram yourself into one of the local establishments, and usually there was long lines for it. So the Village of Worden and the Worden Police Department started reaching out for vendors, and now food is readily accessible all up and down the streets, which is amazing.
All right, let's talk about another aspect of the nature of this great event, and that's the fact that multiple ages can fit in. Sometimes I think, I'm not knocking St. Louis Mardi Gras, we were all young once, but sometimes it can be a little dominated by the young folks, and this is kind of an event where some folks want to have a good time, and you don't think good times stop at 30 or 40 or 50, can go and have a great time.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is an all ages event. You see families out there for the parade. We do always recommend that if you bring a family, there are plenty of family-friendly portions of the event. We do recommend you kind of stay away from the downtown bar establishments. Just, you never know what goes on there, but there's plenty of other opportunities for families to enjoy the parade. All ages. You see, 21-year-old birthday parties. Last year, we had a wedding actually happen during Wordi Gras. We've seen 50th birthday parties, people celebrating up there, and I actually got a couple messages this year for 60-year-old birthday parties, groups of people coming up to the event on Saturday.
I know people get tired of hearing historical references to COVID, but boy, I know what the bars and restaurants went through to survive. I just have to think this is, I think of Sturgis and bars that only operate for a week out of the year. Not to that extreme, but I can imagine this is one of those things that really pushes some local businesses over the top.
It does. Every establishment has actually benefited from Wordi Gras. It's usually their biggest day of the year by far. I do know down at the American Legion, it's their biggest fundraiser for the Legion throughout the year. The Yellow Dog and Rustic both have great atmospheres throughout the year, so hopefully when people get to experience Wordi Gras there, they realize that they can go visit those places 365 days a year and enjoy the town of Worden in those places as well.
Well, the American Legion, and I know the VFW as well, they've tried to get the next generation to sign on, be a part of it, get actively involved. There's been more success in some places than others. Has this been a helpful tool in recruiting the next generation, guys and gals that came back from Iraq, Afghanistan, or simply back from peacetime?
I think it puts the word out. It's still been a struggle for the Legion to get younger members, especially in Worden, since it's kind of off the beaten path. But and speaking for those guys, I know they're always looking for additional interested memberships. And if anybody is out there, feel free to swing by the Legion on Saturday, and we can get an application for them.
Well, anything that stands out about this event that's new or that has grown compared to past Wordi Gras?
I don't know if I do think there's going to be more food trucks than ever before. Based on the amount of interest in the parade, I think the parade may be the longest and biggest parade that we've ever had. And hopefully with the signs of no rain, sunshine on Saturday, hopefully it's the biggest crowd that we've ever had.
Well, I love the way you promote yourself. We were talking about it before we went on. You've got the big picture we've seen circulated. St. Louis Mardi Gras, and there's Tiger on the left, corporate and everything else, and the ultimate rebel. And I think of this as a rebel kind of event. There's old John Daly with the big beard and the loud pants, and puffing on a cigar, I believe. There's a special us versus them attitude, not necessarily just about St. Louis Mardi Gras.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely we're definitely a different event than St. Louis. We want to maintain our small town culture and atmosphere for the event, even as we do get big. And the main thing to do there is just recognize and be yourself, and don't change just for the sake of the event.
Boy, there's a lot of great live music there. I see. Looking at the Yellow Dog lineup, hours of music. So it's good stuff, good bands, good times.
Absolutely, yeah. All the establishments, the Yellow Dog, they have Down and Dirty from noon to 4, Scott and Michelle from 4 to 6, and the Cheers Band from 6 to 10 p.m. All will be in their large heated tent. The Rustic, similarly, from 11 to 3, they'll have the Kapow Band. Then from 4 to 8, they will have Clueless, and also from 4 to 8, inside the bar, they'll have Salmon Creek. And then the Worden American Legion will have Dustin Coleman playing from noon to 3, and then Whiskey River playing from 4 to 8.
Well, I know a good rule of thumb. There are certainly ATMs and everything else. I know there can be, when you get a crowd like you get, there can be a run on those ATMs, what have you, and it's a good idea to come with cash.
Absolutely. We recommend everybody bring cash before they come to an event. There are ATMs throughout the community, but I'm sure there'll be long lines, as you said. We always like to joke that we may take alternate forms of payment, such as goats, chickens, cows, but I prefer cash, so let's just keep it that way.
Well, I realize we're not talking about a tourism operation with employees, but have you ever tried to estimate the crowds? I'm looking at that cover photo on Facebook, and it looks like they're 15 deep at the parade.
We have never tried to estimate the crowd. I've heard numbers, 3,000 up to 5,000. In the end, to be honest, as long as everybody's there having a good time, whether there's 15 people or 15,000 people, that's the main thing we want to ensure people are doing.
All right, so it all starts off, let's see, noon if I have it right?
Yep, noon on Saturday.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Food, music, and while people think of Mardi Gras as, we've got to have a good time before Lent, in reality, it seems like this is kind of the opposite mindset as far as, hey, winter's just about over. And I guess it, ends here with March. It's just kind of a reset switch, the getting past the dog days of winter.
Absolutely, yeah. We see a lot of people enjoy. This is almost the start of their spring every year. Coming out of hibernation, getting to see friends they haven't seen all winter, and having a good time.
I just love looking at that flyer where it all began. That's a beautiful thing. Walker Gusewelle, well, thank you so much, and looking forward to Mardi Gras 2025.
Appreciate you having me, and looking forward to seeing everybody on Saturday.